What's up?
It's just us today.
And we're already feeling goofy, so this should
We
be
are.
fantastic.
And I'm just going to apologize ahead of time because apparently words are escaping me, but we're going to play because life with a leash is always an adventure. And
Yes.
I could use some adventure right now.
That is so true. We're always,
What?
I just turned my shredder on. Uh,
Also, before we started recording, we found out how awesome Zoom's audio like silencing is because I didn't even hear your shredder.
amazing. Um, so we were trying to think of what the common themes have been,
Mm.
and I think we have some with communication and nervous system regulation, responding, accepting being misunderstood. Do you think that's covering it?
For now, let's see where it takes us. But yeah, it's like I guess it's how I think of it, just like how do we recognize conflict and how do we navigate it? Both like what I was telling you is like some of my clients are thinking if they just do one thing, it'll work and it's not working, and they don't recognize they're having an internal conflict. And then they talk to me and we talk about it. I'm like, oh, we need to shift gears because you're having an internal conflict, right? So yeah, let's go all those places.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we should start with prevention, right? Like, what does prevention look like when we're trying to regulate our nervous system and stay in a space where we can respond to something rather than react?
Ugh, we're starting
Apparently,
off
it's
strong.
not just one thing. That's what I
It's
took
not just one thing.
so
No, no.
far.
Like the thing I learned about the body this year that like I'm stubbornly in acceptance of, like I get it, I accept it, but I don't like it, is that we're plants more than machines. And like our nervous system is a plant. We want to control the plant though. So when we think about prevention, we think about it analytically of like, what do I need to feel capable? But our level of awareness in stressful situations isn't great. Like we're typically aware we're stressed, but we're so busy trying to get away from it that we don't really capture the nuances of what's going on. And so we're very head heavy in our brain trying to think through and problem solve like our emotions are something to fix, not realizing like this is coming from the bod. And we probably need to work with the intelligence that exists there. So, like, first and foremost, if we're talking about regulating our nervous system, we need to understand most of that exists in our body.
Very true. We have the vagal nerve that runs from
Vagus nerve.
the bottom of the brain down through the spine. So the
Yeah.
majority of that isn't up here, it's down here.
But what's interesting about the vagus nerve, and like nerd fact, 80% of communication comes from our body to our brain, and only 20% goes from our brain to our body. And it makes sense if you think about how integrated the vagus nerve is with like every single organ and how much information it has to share. But we're trying to solve problems with 20% of the nervous system. It
Mm.
just seems like a better bet to go with the greater percentage, if you ask me.
If I were a gambler, which I'm
Yeah.
not since I lose all the time, I would certainly go with the higher percentage.
Right. So back to the question, I suppose, of like how do we like the role of prevention and how do we regulate our nervous system, right? I mean, I think we're tiptoeing around the obvious of like it starts with awareness, right? Like if you're not aware that you're dysregulated, how can you get regulated, right?
Yeah.
So that's an awareness. So for me, I notice dysregulation with screen jumping. Like I have a shorter attention span. I'm more fidgety. I'll notice a shortness in breath. I'll notice pressure or like tension in my chest. And those are typically like the warning signs that alert me like, hey, something's off. You should probably check in. What about you?
Yeah, I would say breathing is usually my first signal. Like I feel like I can't get a deep breath. But I can also, if it's something that's more of an in the moment trigger, not like a buildup, I
Mm,
feel it differently, and I feel that more in my chest and in my heart. Like I feel like
mm.
it's like blood is moving up.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. I
I
got
don't even
it.
know if that's what's happening, but that's how it feels.
I get it. That actually makes sense to me. So, step one, awareness. How do you know you're dysregulated? Cool. Um, and I actually heard this analogy this morning to think of a dysregulated nervous system like a fire drill in school. Like in school, when we had a fire drill, they would tell us to stop, drop,
Rock and
and
roll.
roll.
Yeah.
But uh, this podcaster said stop, drop, and regulate. And the stop is the awareness. I know it's
Drop
corny,
is
but
into
like,
your body.
you got it. It's like
Look
you
at
listened to
this.
it, but you didn't. Yeah. So, I mean, it's an easy analogy because it's all in our head, right? Like we all know stop, drop, and roll. But to that point, awareness is the pressure, whatever it is that you're experiencing, that your nervous system is dysregulated. So you can stop with the awareness, come into your body and do a scan because you need to have a baseline of where the dysregulation is. Like you did a beautiful job of explaining where the blood was rising to, whether it's blood or not. Something's rising in your chest area. Similarly, we both noticed it in our diaphragm. I noticed it in my shoulders. So, like, do the body scan. And then the next step, which is always the most complicated one, is regulate. Because regulating, it doesn't work the way we want it to work. Like, we want to control it, right? We want to do the things they tell us to do, journal, meditate, work out. And if I do all these things, then I should just be regulated. But really, regulation is more of a response to stress versus a preventative, proactive plan. Don't get me wrong, being preventative and proactive can build capacity so you don't start from nothing, but you're still going to need to be able to respond to the withdrawals of your nervous system, so to speak. So, when you notice where the tension is, for me, when it's in my chest, I tend to do like butterfly taps, or like a lot of times if I'm coaching and I'm like having something like heavy, I'll like just put my hand on my chest and pressure it and like focus on my breath. And I kind of do like a box breathing, but not in how most people think of it with like the 4 in, hold, exhale, hold. It's more like I sense how wide my breath is, and then how long my breath is, and then how like diagonally, like how much space it takes up in each one. And if I do that with like my hand on my chest, like I feel better after that. Like I feel like I'm safe again. So that typically gets me back into regulation.
Okay.
You learn.
I was just having a conversation with ChatGPT recently, and we experimented with putting cold water on your face, which I did not like. I do not like that. I do not like
Yeah.
that. Um, and then there was also a lot of like talking out loud
Hmm.
to myself about what is happening, and comforting myself verbally, which seems so silly, but if plants respond to being talked to, why wouldn't our nervous system?
Well, verbal processing, right?
And then, oh, squeezing your body in whatever way,
Hmm.
whether it's like a hug or like you're talking about like the pressure or just like
Hmm.
squeezing something that supposedly lets your body know that you're not being abandoned, which is nice.
Yes.
I don't know why my body feels abandoned, but we're here.
I don't mean,
We're here.
we're here. We got you. Yeah. No, I think how I always think about it when I teach it to clients is to notice like, are you calmer or are you more agitated? Because I think that gives people better direction as to which somatic tools to start with. Because let's be real, it's kind of weird. Like we
Oh
weren't
yeah.
raised like do random shit in your body to like help you get back into it. We were raised like stop moving your body and being weird, like take it and shut up. Right.
Yeah, when
So
you
like,
initially said fire drill, I thought we were going to talk about running.
No, I hate running unless it's after a ball. I'm like a dog like that. Um, no, I do not like running, but like I know like if I'm excited or angry, I feel like activated, agitated energy and I need like the whole like pressure on my chest or breathing. That's not going to work for me. I need to move my body. That could be stretching. That could be walking. That could be hopping. That could be a dance. That could be the cold water. Like it needs more of an exertion because I have more energy in it. When I'm feeling sadder or closer to like abandonment or a lack of belonging, that's when I have like calmer energy and I need more of like the rocking, the pressure, even running my hands under warm water
Hmm.
is soothing for me for whatever reason. But like that's the point. Like this is weird and it's like a new language and you got to figure out how your plant works.
Yeah, I could see that though. Like a warm shower. Or for me,
Yes.
I like a hot shower.
Yes. Both are valuable. So I don't know how you were when you started getting to somatic, but I felt really weird. Did
Yeah,
you?
it is weird.
Why is it valuable?
Well, what we're talking about is regulating.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's valuable for regulating and for being able to respond to something rather than what my norm would be, which is react.
Yeah. I think I think you I mean obviously you nailed it because you're you, but I think it gives agency. Like I don't like feeling like I'm a victim to my emotions. I like being able to like feel them and understand them and they're fine. I'm not like pushing them away, but when I feel like I can't be me or I can't leave them and like go be somewhere else, like it feels like they're controlling me and I don't like feeling controlled. So like that's personally why I like it is
Yeah.
it makes me feel like I can have some agency and like taking care of myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we were talking about being able to regulate ourselves in order to have difficult conversations. And you said something that I thought was really cool about leadership. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. I think we get so scared going into conflict oriented conversations, understandably so, that we don't actually stay present in the conversation. We're so like prepared for the attack or the defense. And so we don't realize like we can lead the conversation and it doesn't have to be like a tit for tat or a reaction or something of that nature. Like one of the more powerful tools that I've learned is when I am having conflict oriented conversations, it is vulnerable and I am scared. So I'll go into it with the best entry I can. And if the person receiving it gets defensive or gets angry, I either will say, like, I'm not looking to argue with you. I'm not even looking for you to defend your actions. I'm looking to be understood. Are you in a space to do that? So, like, rather than just going back and forth and like arguing over whose reality is true, I kind of get more centered as to what the point of the conflict is for me. Like, if I'm going to go into that uncomfortable situation, I want to know why it's important for me to have that conversation. And I want to feel like I have the ground under me. And there are other times where people will be so fast in their response that I can just tell, like, you are not safe. And I'll say, I really want to have this conversation, but I'm not looking to create pain here. I'm looking to be better understood and create a stronger connection. And right now, I think we just need to sit with this for a minute and then maybe reconvene in like 10 minutes. And honestly, a lot of times people don't like that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm like, I get it. I wouldn't like it either. I'm still going to take 10 though. Like, I'm not looking for them to like it because guess what? If I'm going into conflict, they already did something I don't like. This
Mm,
isn't a like fest, you know?
yeah.
So when I say like leading yourself, I think it's having clarity and like why you're doing it so you can direct it versus feeling like, all right, who's swinging next, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I think the language that you are going in with is important. You apologized for not having language today, and here you are having language.
Watch, now it's going to go all over the place.
Now I've fucked it up.
You fucked
Uh,
yourself. Yeah.
because I think what you're saying is important that what is my goal out of this? And that's where everybody's goal can be different. Your goal sometimes might just be that I need to get something off my chest. My goal might be that I want to be understood. My goal
Hmm.
might be that I want there to be a resolution of some sort. Uh,
Hmm.
so being clear with yourself before you go in, I think is really important. And then being able to verbalize that to the person that you're trying to talk to. And then I
Yeah, but
also really respect this piece about it's okay if you're not happy with this because
mhm.
I think, at least with a lot of people that I work with, it tends to be an issue that people don't want to upset anybody. The conflict is what they're trying to avoid. The discomfort between the two
Right,
people is what they're trying to avoid. So if that arises,
right.
what do I do? And
I
it's not
think
your job to do anything.
right, right. But that like it's an easier said than done thing because your nervous system's in there like, please don't leave me, please don't hate me, like please tell me I'm so lovable. And like cue the regulation stuff we already talked about. But it's not that simple because we have a natural aversion to it, to not wanting to hurt someone, but my brain goes a little bit to athletics. And I think, I mean, I grew up playing sports, so I'm sure that's where it's influenced from. But the coaches that influenced me the most weren't the ones that I liked. They're the ones I respected. They were the ones who challenged me. They were the ones who weren't afraid to say the hard stuff to me, but it ultimately made me better. And I think because I have that experience, and I've had to like in team environments in general, I've had to overcome obstacles with teammates and saw how that brought us closer. So I think I also have experience that this is going to be uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortable either way. I can just let it sit in my body and pretend it's not there, or I can address it and hopefully get a little closer. And if I don't get closer, I typically learn something regardless.
Right.
So I
You don't
know.
know everything already?
No, it's bullshit. I try and learn so much crap and I don't know shit.
That's so wild.
Mm,
I mean, I'm the same way, but
I don't know. I think you know everything.
just ask my kids. I don't. They'll tell you.
I believe you 100% on that one.
No,
Um,
I think we've talked before about the fact that I love to learn. I value learning. I wish there was a way I could know everything, but can't be perfect
yeah,
and I can't know everything. It's part of being human, which is lame.
uh,
There's a lot of lame parts of being human. For example, having to regulate your emotions.
I know. Be a damn plant, won't you? Um, well, that actually makes me curious because one of the things we were talking about before we came on is like being okay with being misunderstood.
Yes.
And you do value learning. We've talked about that many times. And it makes me curious, like, can we learn if we're feeling misunderstood? And I guess that's a personal thing, right?
Yeah.
What comes up for me is like self-understanding. Like, if I'm going into a conflict with someone, I'm not looking for them to necessarily agree with my experience. My experience was my experience. Like, if I'm engaging in that uncomfortable exchange to begin with, I'm already quite clear, like, yeah, no, I'm not misinterpreting this. Yep, this was definitely my experience. Like I've journaled, I've typically tried to talk about it with someone I trust, and then I'm like, all right, this was my experience. So like my experience isn't up for debate, which is I think part of the reason why I feel okay being misunderstood, because I think that's what people get all disoriented about is like intent versus impact. Like some people don't have a negative intent, but they got a crappy impact. And what I experience is their impact, regardless of their intent. Right. So when someone hears the impact they give and it harms someone they love, it's not uncommon for people to get defensive. Right. So then the question is like, can you learn if you're not understood first?
I mean, you're the way you're saying it, can you learn if you're misunderstood? I don't know, maybe. Can you learn if you're defensive? No. That I can be clear about with myself.
Yeah.
For someone else, I can't answer that. But I
I don't
don't
think you
think,
can when you're defensive, but I do think you can be disarmed. Like intent versus impact, right? So like if I'm having a conflict oriented conversation, that means the impact has already been like negative, no bueno, right?
right.
I'll talk about it, they'll get defensive. And normally the leadership component comes in of like, I'm not saying you meant to do this. I actually can completely believe that you didn't mean to do that, like confirming their intent. But
Hmm.
like, I'm not looking to discuss what your intent was. I'm looking to see if we can have a shared understanding about the impact and have a better resolution so it doesn't happen again. So it's
And
almost
that's
like,
being
I
clear
guess,
about your
yeah,
mission from the beginning.
it's almost like I expect a negative response and I prepare to disarm.
Well, I think that's wise. When we're talking about a conversation about conflict or confrontation,
Mhm.
there's a high likelihood that we're going to be met with some sort of reaction rather
Some
than
negativity,
response,
right?
especially if the person has no idea it's coming or has, had no idea you felt that way or whatever the situation was. And so, yeah, I think it's wise for us to anticipate that it could lose its focus really quickly. And so being clear with ourselves about what we want out of this in the beginning is really important.
Yeah. But I think it's also realistic. Like, think about it, right? People don't want to have conflict oriented conversations because they don't want the negative reaction. I feel that. I don't really like it either. But if you understand the nature of conflict and the nature, like the very idea of conflict means the other person is opposing, right? So,
Yeah,
like, if you, rather than going into it with the hope that there won't be a negative reaction, if you say it the right way, if you go in with the preparation and clarity of it's probably going to have a negative reaction, and I can disarm that reaction by focusing them on the mission of the conversation, wouldn't that be, I guess, a safer way to approach it?
absolutely. And in some scenarios, I wouldn't even say disarming is the goal, or
It depends on the
maybe
reaction, right?
right. Like I'm thinking if you're going into the conversation, for example, just to unload some things that you need to unload, and you're not expecting this person to receive it or change anything, you just need to get this out. Then when the person starts to react, you might not need to disarm anything because you already did what you needed to do. Your
Yeah.
mission's already complete.
Okay. Agree. But is that realistic? Because I don't know about you, girl, but my experiences, the reactions I get back are typically accusatory and kind of attacking me back,
Ah,
which is why it's so hard not to swing back
yeah.
and to like stay in that leadership role. But like it's literally them baiting you to be like, no, I didn't do this, you did that, which is defensiveness is, or blame is like shifting, right? I mean,
Yeah.
have you ever had a conflict where they didn't, their response to your venting didn't have something that triggered you?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten a lot of silence back.
Okay, does silence trigger you?
Oh yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, exactly. So whether it's silence or insults, what we get back is typically something that is hard for us to deal with, which is the whole reason why we want it to go well to begin with, right?
Hmm. Very true. Yeah, it's less about your discomfort and more about mine.
Yeah, Foch. Yeah, for sure. We got to protect you, girl.
You know what's funny? In my conversation with ChatGPT recently, it prepared me for science silence.
Okay, how?
It just said, please understand that okay, I'm just gonna say it. It was with my sister, my younger sister, and she is I don't even know how to describe it. She doesn't get back with people very well. And she did better this time than she normally does, but she still never quite responded, like never quite wrapped up or concluded the conversation. And
Mm.
so ChatGPT was like, just realize like this is how this might go because this is something that happens a lot. And I was like, you're so right, Chat.
I have one bone to pick. I feel like you're talking your shit out with chat more than you're talking out with me nowadays. And like, I'm gonna take that up with you off fucking line. But
Okay, fair enough.
that does point out something that I had written down, which is awareness of skills, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are people in my life who I know don't know how to take accountability. And
Yeah.
if I'm going to try and have a conversation with them to let them know that they hurt me, if I've never seen them take accountability, I'm not going to expect them to take accountability. So if I'm going into the conversation hoping, I'm just setting myself up to get hurt.
Yeah.
And I think being aware of the skill set of the person you're engaging with is a hard thing to accept, but one of the most loving things that you can do for yourself. Because if you go into that conversation, and how did I learn this? By going into the conversation, not recognizing their skill set and getting hurt over and over and over again before I was like, screw this. Why do I keep doing it? And I had to learn a new skill set of being able to regulate myself, right?
The way we learn is so annoying. One of my clients said
Ah,
to me yesterday, like, is really the only way to do this to just keep repeating it? And I was like, I think that's the only way we learn.
it makes me think of Eckhart Tolle, how he said, pain is there to bring us closer to consciousness, and life will mirror back to us like reflectively the same thing until we learn it. So, yes, and because habits are created through repetition, sadly, yeah. But if you do it enough, then it becomes autopilot. So, like, that's cool.
Right. I mean, I remember when my kids were learning to walk, I was like, good God, can you imagine if they were like, oh, I'm not getting this right. That's it. I'm done. I'm not trying anymore. But they didn't. They're just like, that didn't work, but I'm going to try it again.
Yeah. Like, the analogy that keeps running in my head with my clients too is like, because what a lot of people like to do when it comes to learning is learn through information, not application,
Yeah.
right? I'm
Textbook
going to
learning,
read.
not
Uh-huh.
actually practicing.
Correct. Now, I have insider information that you know how to ride a bike, but let's pretend you don't. If you read about how to ride a bike, but never rode a bike and then got on a bike, do you think you'd be able to figure it out the first time?
No, but I also wouldn't read about it.
I know, but it's the analogy for
I
everything
would
else.
get on it blind. I would probably do that and be like, I can figure this out, and then not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could see all
But
of
that's
that.
how we are. We
Yeah.
think like, oh, if I read about conflicts, then I'll be able to navigate it. No, no. You have to practice riding the bike.
Yeah,
You have to
people say
practice riding.
like, "Oh, I'm afraid it's going to come out wrong." And I'm like, "Well, probably will, but you correct yourself. If it comes out wrong or if you say it in a way you didn't mean it or whatever, then you just, okay, hold on, let me see if I can say this the right way."
That's the leadership component, right? Is like, but that's the problem is we're so afraid we're not even present in the moment. So we want to control it to mitigate it. Like, I had one client actually drop a very interesting nugget about seeing her own emotionality helps her feel validated. So I was telling her like to journal or to like record herself and like listen back. And she instead went to the mirror and started talking to herself. And apparently that was something she did when she was in high school. And she's like, yeah, there was something about it that like was very centering for me. And now she started like recording herself on video and like playing it back to herself. And so I was like, and we were talking about her having a conflict oriented conversation with her husband. And I was like, I wonder if that same thing would work for you as like a role play scenario with yourself. Like, see your own emotionality, say what you want to say, and listen back and see how you feel about it. And she did it, and it actually did help her.
Interesting.
So maybe practicing doesn't always have to be like the real deal. Maybe sometimes it can
Right.
be like with a friend or with a coach or a therapist or even in your phone,
Well, I
right?
know in trainings that I've been to, we always practiced with each other. So,
Yeah. Like I did this talk. It was emotional intelligence for professional development is what it was called.
mm,
And I know, mouthful. I split them into groups and asked them each to play like certain parts. And I gave them a scenario. And one person was like the offender, like the boss. The other person was the person who is trying to have a conflict oriented conversation. And I'm proud of myself because I predicted they would all do the same thing, which was talk about it, not actually role play, even though I specifically said multiple times role play. So I bring them back all together and I asked them like who played and like they all were honest. I'm like, great, let's go back in the rooms and actually role play. And one person raised their hand and asked why. And I gave them the ride the bike scenario. And they're like, okay. So they all go, they did it. And then they came back and they're like, that was funny and hard because they knew they were in like a practice scenario. So they were laughing with each other because it was weird to be offensive, but it still created the nervous system response and help them understand how to navigate it. So I really think that component of like getting your body to calm, getting your body to practice, like getting into the plant that you are to prepare yourself and respond when threats arise is actually how we find that balance that we all talk about.
well, I also want to throw something else out there. Well, and we've sort of mentioned it already today, but I guess I want to revisit it. We're not going to get it right
No,
all the time because we're still humans. Back to that. Lame.
stupid.
Uh, so that's where I think having grace with yourself and compassion towards yourself is really important. And I think that's probably an important place to end because I think that we've said a lot of good stuff today and it sounds great on paper. Is it going to
Uh-huh.
go this way every time? Absolutely not.
No, no.
So I
Well,
just want us to be able to be our own best cheerleader instead of our own worst critic.
I think you're right. That's a perfect place to end. And just to add a little sprinkle, because this happened, like a client said this to me on Monday. I said to her, like, we need to practice self-compassion. And she said, compassion to me feels like I'm being fake, like I'm being my own hype man. And
Well,
I was like, you need a bridge. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, imagine that you're feeling fat. You can't all of a sudden convince yourself I'm fit. Like your brain's be like, no, you're not. Nice try. Like it can tell when you're lying. And I'm like, but if you're believing that you're fat and you went to believing I have a body and it can do things, what does your brain do? And she's like, okay. She's just like, yeah, that's true. And I'm like, so maybe that's what you need to do with self-compassion too, rather than being like, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's human, which her brain received as being fake. What if you're just like, well, that sucked and that happened? She's like, huh. So just go for like neutral. And I was like, yeah, just go for neutral. So I do agree with you that this is incredibly imperfect. Like it takes a lot of tries to learn how to ride a bike, and it's very similar here. And you need to be self compassionate. But if you struggle with receiving it, maybe you need to just be neutral.
And we have to keep trying. We can't give up.
Yes, perseverance.
Somebody said to me recently, "Isn't everybody trying to improve?" And I was like, I don't think so.
No, no. Some people
That's
are
cute.
dramatically trying to stay the same.
That's cute that you think that, but
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
I remember in my journey, like reading some Instagram quote that said, like, not everyone is meant to grow because some people are here to remind you why you choose to.
Ooh, dang.
And I was like, that hits. And that is great motivation because there are times I see people who I love who don't choose to grow. And I'm like, I love you. And I never want to treat someone the way you're treating them. So I'm going
Mm.
to grow so I don't do that.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's a way to have compassion for other people too. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Well, thanks for going on this journey with us.
Yeah. Hope you learn something. Regulate your body, be a plant, you know.
And keep trying. Keep facing those fears and being imperfect through it.
Amen.